Well, welcome to the show, Tom. Thanks for coming in, and we've known each other for several years now, and you have an amazing story, and would love to hear about it. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, and your journey through the construction industry, as well as you're doing coaching now or counseling.
Mm-hmm.
So, love to hear more about that.
All right. Well, thank you, Tony. This is exciting. I looked forward to doing this, not just for the business side, but the personal side. And I think it's amazing in life and in business when you meet people, maybe for a business reason, and then it develops into a friendship. And I tell many people that, yes, Tony's my financial advisor, but more than that, he's a friend, and I trust him. So I'm excited about today. As far as business, I've been doing construction. I'm 45 now. Been doing it since I was 10. Full-time since 1995. And for the most part, I love it. There's a few days once in a while that I ask myself what else I would enjoy. But, started full-time in 1995. At that point, joined my dad and brother. We had 100 framers. And we framed a lot of product, a lot of apartments, a lot of houses. It taught me a lot, doing piecework. So thankful for my upbringing as far as knowing the value of time and what that equates to in money, not just an hourly sort of mentality or a salary mentality, but a piecework mentality. It really taught me a lot. There was times that I was there, 17, 18 years old, and there was times I was definitely working 80 hours a week, but, moved out when I was 17, grew up, backing up, grew up in a trailer, very simple, very tough years there, going to the food bank, and, I think my dad had his, financial struggles, and yet we grew up very, very close, great mom and dad, but very broke. And I think that also motivated me to say, all right, how do I, solve for this? I thought in my teen years, I thought I'd be an architect. I did go to Bellevue Community College for a little bit. It's interesting how we're made, though. I'm an outdoor guy. I love the outdoors. And looking at it now, there's no way I could be an architect. Being at a computer.
Sitting in an office.
Oh, boy. I would jump out the window.
Right.
So, I think it's great to fall into something that, like I say, 99% of the time I love it. And I think that's so important for people. I work with young men a lot and, try and encourage them to try a couple different sorts of careers, but to realize, like, you're kind of made for certain types of atmosphere as far as work. And the money's important. Yeah, that's what every young person, looks at. Well, what can I make in this career or that career? But that's not the whole picture. And it's so important to find something that we're made to do.
So how did you realize that construction was something you wanted to get into? But more importantly, you said something interesting, which is time. Could you expand on that and tell us a little more about how you decided that you wanted to buy your time versus work for time?
Right. So some of the specific projects I remember in 1995, we did 34 houses up in Issaquah Highlands, 2 different styles. And so I was the roof scope, rolling trusses and rolling sheets and all that for the roof systems. And so did the first house. I think I made like $7 an hour. Wasn't real happy about that. And talked to my dad, and he's like, "Sorry, that's the piece price. That's what we pay." And even though it's my dad's company, he's like, "You can take it or leave it. That's what I'm paying to get it done. There's other people that will do it." So I'm like, "All right." Did another one. And by the third house, I was making $15 an hour, and I think by the 5th house, I was making $25 an hour. So the piece price never changed.
Right.
It was my efficiency of how I used my time. And so I'm up on the 3rd story of these homes, 17 years old, and by the last house, I think I'm making like $35 an hour. again, the price never changed. It was my thought process, my planning, my preparation. When I went down to the container to get something, I was already planned out. I know what I'm getting, a box of nails. And on the way down, I took the garbage to the dumpster, and I never had any empty trips. And, I see guys in the industry now, and they walk in circles with nothing in their hands. And they wonder why it takes 8 hours to do a 2-hour job. And I'm going, and they're, the bad part is, don't get me going, but they got their phone in their hand. Come on, if you're in construction, set it down and get to work. But time, for me was always and is precious. When I get my bags on and when I'm on the job, I'm intense. Because the sooner I get done with that goal, I'm going home to my family. I'm going to, do what I do as far as hobbies. I'm going to my personal life. And it's that work-life balance. But yeah, it taught me a lot that I went from, $7 an hour to $27 an hour doing the same exact thing, all within just a few months, because these were small houses, just repetition. So piecework is a great thing for young people to do some of, to just realize, like, there's a reason. These days, people that just work hourly, like, oh, my boss is always pushing me, hurry, hurry, hurry. Well, it's because he knows the time and, the dollar relationship. And time is money, and time is precious. That's the one thing that no matter what, you can't change. It's moving. No. And so capturing that to work hard and be present, to live in the moment. Like if I'm at work, I'm at work. If I'm at church, I'm at church. If I'm at dinner, I'm at dinner. Just living in that moment is so important. The biggest thing that, is distractions.
Right.
Just this constant distraction. Oh, I got a notification. Oh, if you don't do that, you get a lot done in a short amount of time. But if every minute or every 5 minutes there's a distraction from a phone or from anything else, man, it takes 10 times as long to do the same scope. And so I'm glad I did that. As far as why I enjoy it, again, outdoors, probably the other biggest reason is the amount of people. Just this year alone, I've probably met 3,000 people that I didn't know last year. Yeah. Easily. Through the construction industry, through the nonprofit. I love meeting people. Every week it's probably 15 to 30 people easily that I meet, and not just meet, but have conversations with. And where that goes, I mean, it's pretty beautiful. And I love that I'm in that career path that I'm always, different inspectors, different subcontractors, different clients, and that's what I'm cut out to do. Mm-hmm. So.
Now, do you get to learn a lot from these people as you have these conversations? Because that's a lot of conversations to have, and most people don't get that chance.
I do, and actually why I changed the goal of being an architect to sticking with what I was doing was I was in Issaquah and working on a house for an architect. So I think at the time he was in his 30s. I was 17 or 18. So I said, what's it like? Tell me your journey. And so he did. He told me the amount of years of college, the amount of years as an apprentice in the firm, and then finally starting his own firm. And he told me at the time what he was making and how much student debt he had. And I'm thinking, are you crazy? I'm already making that. Right. And so I find it interesting that by learning and asking other people about their life or their career, you can learn from other people's path. Mm-hmm. I find it interesting that although I never was an architect, for 29 years, I've read the blueprints from architects, mm-hmm. and I've built it. Right. So even in my teens, I kind of did follow what my heart was telling me to do. But outdoors, hands-on, and meeting clients, I love it. It's very interesting, and work for all different types of clients, and love hearing their stories too. Right. I've met a lot of people that have either said or implied that they are very well off, mm-hmm. and somewhat miserable, and that's sad. But then I've met ones that are very into what they enjoy, but it's stressful because they don't have any resources, any finances.
Right.
And that's tough too.
I think that's a good segue because you recently got into counseling. Mm-hmm. Could you walk us through that journey on how you came about counseling and recovery? And
boy, that's always one I'm thinking, how long do I take, Tony? But So I'm 45 right now. Got a wonderful wife of 20 years, 3 precious children. I guess a good spot to start. I was in my teens and 20s, a workaholic. I was out of balance, 70, 80 hours a week, and financially good, but in other ways, I probably lost some friendships. Definitely didn't have hobbies. So looking back on it, I wish I would have been more like 50, 60 hours, not 80, 90. But anyhow, about 25 years old, I met the lady that is my wife, and beautiful, just how we met and our marriage started. I was the youth leader at a church in Bellevue for 5 years, worked with tons of teenagers and enjoyed every moment of it, from teaching to games and activity, evenings, and then a lot of times the one-on-one, picking up a young boy and sitting there talking to him and mentoring him, and I really enjoyed that. My wife's always been the music director at our local church in Bellevue. She went to Bible college for 3 years for music, very passionate about music. So we were very heavily involved in ministries. I remember about 5 years into marriage, making the choice to stop being the youth leader because I was too busy and wanted to build my career. Looking back, that was a mistake, and I did build the career, even more so, to owning apartments, owning restaurants, just almost a little too good on the financial success. And at some point, I became empty. Looking back, I think it was about the 35, so about 10 years ago, 35 years old. But different choices, all of a sudden, one drink turned into more. And, I never had a problem, right? I was in denial. Things are fine. I'm making money. I'm a great father, everybody says. I'm a great husband. I'm going to church, I got 5 cars. I got a boat. I've arrived, and somewhere along the line there, the drinks changed and got to be daily, and kind of microdosing, throughout the day. I could control it. Most people didn't know. I knew, and I was miserable in that I realized this is something I do every day, and this is not good. And so, just going into thinking about that, and I've been, to put it in context here, I've been 100% clean and sober for 20 months now.
Congratulations.
So thank you. Yeah, about 650 days. And I do a lot in the recovery world as far as my own personal growth and working with a lot of people. But addiction is nothing to mess with. One time I was drinking and other things got brought out that I said yes to. And then I had, a 4-year journey with, cocaine. And again, for a long time, nobody knew. And it was small quantities, but it was frequent. And I looked like on the surface that I had it all, the 6,000 square foot house with the pool, 34-foot boat, G-Wagon, and I was miserable. I tell people the best financial year of my life was actually the worst year of my life. And so I'm really happy where I am now, realizing that for Tom, don't touch it. Some can touch it and set it down. That's a different story. But for those of us that have more compulsive, extreme, same thing with work. I get into work, I'm working. Get out of my way, let's go. And that's who I am. And I've recognized that that's okay if it's channeled in the right way with the right disciplines. And now I am a great father. I'm a great husband. My wife told me recently that our marriage is better now than it's been in 20 years. And it's a beautiful story. I tell people, as long as there's breath, there's hope. Don't ever look at a loved one or a family member, anybody, a friend, and think that it's hopeless. If there's breath, there's hope. And if you were to see, of course, I've showed you my before and after picture. It's night and day. The same person, it can be night and day. And so I talk daily about this to people, just to open the door and take away the the stigma.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people rehab's one of the best things I've ever done.
Right.
I learned a lot about Tom,
Mm-hmm.
and not just the alcohol and substance, because that's just a symptom of some of the childhood things that I had gone through that I hadn't dealt with, and hurts and hang-ups and habits. And so I could go on for a while, but I hope that answers the question. I live one day at a time right now,
Yeah.
and I have a lot of peace. That I've found my balance, and I'm not going to give up. I tell people, instead of saying, I'm Tom, I'm an addict, I say, I'm Tom, I'm in recovery from addiction,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm always vulnerable. And that makes me aware, like, it's just a choice. Every single day I have a choice.
Right.
I walked in the gas station to pay for gas this morning. Right there. Whole rack of Fireball. And I'm going, really? I don't need to see that.
Right.
But I walked out and, drink my water, drink my coffee, drink my Gatorade.
Yeah.
So that's a quick idea on the...
So what would you say keeps you on this path? What is the finite minutia that allows you to continue, sober free on this journey and help you continue to be, a good businessman and a good husband?
So, besides the Bible, one of the next, my favorite books is Atomic Habits.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, one of my mentors that's ahead of me on this journey, we meet often and talk, and he goes, Tom, Bible and Atomic Habits. I'm like, all right. And since then, I've read 100 books in the last year. But it's that 1%, you don't go to the gym one time and lose 10 pounds.
Right.
You just don't. But if you go 10 minutes a day, 3 days a week, all of a sudden you wake up 3 months later going, dude, I lost 10 pounds.
Yeah.
So habits, daily disciplines, personal time, especially in the mornings. I used to wake up and bam, first thing I'm like, taking a little shot, looking at my phone. Now I get up and I read a little bit, do a little meditation, a little personal time, quiet time, and then I exercise. Long before I check my first email.
Wow.
Long before I look at the social media, any
Mm-hmm.
of that. But how you start your day is so important. The other key thing that I tell people I work with is, what are your non-negotiables? And I remember the time that somebody asked me that, and I said, my what? He goes, what are your non-negotiables? You see, as an addict, when I was in my addiction, everything was negotiable. If you were to say, hey, I heard at this party, let's go. I'm like, let's go. Hey, let's go to the moon. Let's go. Everything was like, forget that I had already told somebody I'd be somewhere at 7.
Right.
If you bring up something fun and it's going till 9, well, I'll just tell them I can't be it.
Right.
Everything was negotiable. So because of that, obviously I abused relationships, mainly with my wife. Hey, I'll be home late. Hey, I'll be home late. Well, you said you were going to be home for dinner. What's up? Oh, I'm working late. I'd come up with reasons and excuses and all that. But now I do what I say I'm going to do, period. So I do Celebrate Recovery once a week. I do church twice a week. I do Joy Hour, daily morning disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
I do what I told myself I'm going to do, and that makes me confident in who I am. And there's times it's not convenient. I'll drive an hour just to go to a Celebrate Recovery, and there's 3 people there. And it's like, really? What did I get out of this? But what I got out of it is the next day, when I have a hard day, and I go by that gas station, I'm like, no, I don't do that. Because the day before I put the work in to get more education on being aware of who I am. That if I have one, it's going to turn into rehab again. And I don't want to go drop 10 grand on rehab again.
Right.
Sitting there 3 hours a day, 3 days a week for 4 months, and the middle of the day was not convenient.
Because it takes you out of your business, it takes you out of your family.
Yeah, I mean, once it was great because I learned a lot. I think for Tom and a lot of people that I've talked to, I needed rehab even without the alcohol and substance issue. Rehab taught me how to deal with people cutting in front of me on the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
Rehab taught me how to deal with being let down by a friend. Having expectations of a friendship or of my wife.